प्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। सिक्स्टी श्लोक। तस्मादस्य महाबाहो निगृहीतानि सर्वशः इन्द्रियाणीन्द्रियार्थेभ्यः तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता। तस्मादस्य महाबाहो निगृहीतानि सर्वशः इन्द्रियाणीन्द्रियार्थेभ्यः तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता। तस्मादस्य महाबाहो निगृहीतानि सर्वशः इन्द्रियाणीन्द्रियार्थेभ्यः तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता। Okay, someone, anyone? तस्मादस्य महाबाहो निगृहीतानि सर्वशः इन्द्रियार्थेभ्यः। Okay. तस्मादस्य महाबाहो निगृहीतानि सर्वशः Okay, we'll read word to word meaning. Tasmat, therefore, yasya, whose, Mahabaho, O mighty armed one, Nigrihitani, so curbed down, Sarvashaha, all around, Indriyani, the senses, Indriya Artebhyaha, from sense objects, Tasya, his, Prajna, intelligence, Pratishtita, fixed. Here the theme is going on. Here we are using Prajna Pratishtita, the intelligence of a steady man, how the intelligence of a steady man would be. Here we are discussing, we discuss about how Indriyas, actually the senses, they go here and there. But a intelligent person, how he controls mind in a steady way. That is the theme is going on here. In the purport, Prabhupada says, one can curb the forces of, I didn't read purport, let me read. Therefore, O mighty armed one, whose senses are restrained from their objects is certainly of steady intelligence. Purport. One can curb the forces of sense gratification only by means of Krishna consciousness, or engaging all the senses in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. As enemies are curbed by superior force, the senses can similarly be curbed, not by any human endeavor, but only by keeping them engaged in the service of the Lord. One who has understood this, that only by Krishna consciousness is one really established in intelligence, that one should practice this art under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master, is called a sadhaka, or a suitable candidate for liberation. Here, a sadhaka or a suitable candidate for liberation, he understands that the senses can be controlled by practicing devotional service. Even Patanjali, he says that many yoga system he says, but even when if one practice bhakti or devotional service, controlling the senses is byproduct. Like when you do bhakti, you need not endeavor for controlling senses. But whereas, according to Patanjali, there are even yogis, jnanis, they have like this Ashtanga Yoga, Dhyana, Dharana. For one stage to progress, it takes many years, sometimes it takes lifetime. For what? To control the senses. He has to undergo so much difficulty to control the senses. But whereas a devotee, by practicing devotional service, his senses can easily be, like you need not endeavor. It's like a byproduct. When you do bhakti, these senses can easily be, you need not endeavor that I have to control my senses. They are byproduct. You need not, that's what he is telling. And also, like senses are curbed by superior force. We also read in following chapters that higher than superior to senses are mind is superior to intelligence. Intelligence is superior to soul. In Bhagavad Gita, it comes in following chapters. But what it means superior? Superior means that senses, mind can control the senses. And intelligence can control the mind, and finally soul can control the intelligence. Like we give an example, if mind is not, if intelligence is not controlled, yesterday we have discussed the mind is compared to mind. Yesterday he gave example of chariot. In that analogy, the mind is compared to ropes, reins. And who is the driver? Intelligence. And senses? Horses. Suppose you have a driver and you are the owner of the driver, and the car driver is driving and you want to go to office. But whereas the driver, he takes to cinema hall. Like, are you be happy? Means, you, who is control now? You are the control or driver is the controller? If a driver takes you according to his desire, who is the controller? Driver is the controller. Similarly, though who is the owner? Soul is the passenger, that is the owner. But if you want to control the senses, but senses are dragging you in different directions. It means that the soul didn't have that controlling capacity on intelligence, mind, and senses. Like we can know that during rainy season, that worms, they get attracted to light, and within few hours they get died. And a fish in the water, that fisherman, what he does, he keeps a bait to trap the fish. And though fish has so much eatables in that lake, but still it is attracted to this bait. And finally what happens, it gets struck to that hook of that fisherman, and finally it ends in, it leaves the body. For the fish, tongue is the only that victim for the, whereas for each, we can see for flies, eyes are the, they get attracted to the light. But for fish, tongue is the attraction for food. And we can see the rabbit, how they catch. The hunter, he plays nice music so that rabbit can easily trap. For a rabbit, ears are the victim for sense objects. And similarly, elephant, how they catch the elephant. But whereas human being, each and every sense become a victim, can easily drag away. The senses of a human being, like for a fish, only the deviation for this fish is tongue. It gets attracted to sense objects. But whereas the human being, all sense, all eyes want to see very nice things, nose want to smell fragrant smell, ear want to use nice music, tongue want to taste tasty food. And each and every five sense are powerful enough to drag a human being into, to attract to this sense gratification. But it's very difficult to control. But how can we control? By Krishna consciousness, he is telling. Here is telling not by, we can not endeavor by human endeavor. Like by the, oh, by our own endeavor we cannot. It can be curbed by what we can curb? By following Krishna consciousness or by devotional service. It can be curbed in the purport Prabhupada writes. By keeping them engaged in the service of the Lord, one who has understood that only by Krishna consciousness is the only really established in intelligence, that one should practice this art under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master is called a sadhaka. These senses can be controlled only by Krishna consciousness. By performing devotional service, we can overcome this overcome this that's distraction from various sense enjoyment. And even in Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, 11th canto or 10th canto, Krishna directly speaks to Uddhava, Aila Gita. What is this? Who spoke this Aila Gita? Pururava. Who is Pururava? What he did previously? He enjoyed for many years. It is said for thousands, 10,000 of years he has enjoyed. But finally he came to a conclusion that the sense gratification cannot be, with the sense we cannot be satisfied. And then he says that Krishna himself narrating that Aila Gita to Uddhava. And Krishna says that out of sight, out of mind. If you don't see bad sides, then you need not to think about those bad things. And if you are not seeing bad things, then you need not, that thought doesn't come in your mind. Because whenever you see anything, that impressions are stored in mind. And since, like I give an example, when a new person, he like a foreigner, he doesn't know the taste of gulab jamun. At first time, if he sees the gulab jamun, he doesn't show any interest in eating because he doesn't know what the ingredients are, how it tastes. He doesn't show any interest in eating. But if a neighbor, if he suggests, you just take one and you will really, gulab jamun is very tasty. And after tasting, he wants more. And whenever in future he come across such gulab jamun, what happens? His saliva start precipitating. Why? Because that impression has been stored in the mind. Since impressions are stored, the taste, as soon as you see the gulab jamun, that impression has been stored in the mind, and he gets how it look like and how the gulab jamun is tasty. Similar, it's like a small example in like a gulab jamun. Similarly, our sense gratification also, that is called samskar. So samskar carries for lifetimes. We have been enjoyed in previous lives. Whenever such a sense object comes, immediately that the impetus comes to take part in that. That's why if you don't see such bad things, then that thought never comes in our mind. What we have to do, we should keep our, just like we should be like a tortoise. What does tortoise does? When an enemy, like when a tortoise sees an enemy or someone, what it does, it takes out its limbs inside the body, inside the shell, so that he will be protected. Similarly, when you are outside, when there are so much sense objects are there, what you have to do? You have to keep your senses. You should not allow your senses to see all sense objects. We have to, just like a tortoise it takes its limbs inside the shell. Similarly, we should you have to focus on like reading books or something, and we have to focus on Krishna consciousness. We should not see all the sense objects. When you see, then immediately that thought comes. How Ajamila fell, it's a like he doesn't want to see, but he just went for a work for collecting the firewood. But on the way he saw, seeing is not the problem. What is the problem? Their problem was he was remembering. He is thinking of it. Then finally, what happened when thinking process goes? Then it become a like habit. Then practically he want to take part in that activity. That's why when you see any sense object, when you start contemplating on that sense objects, then you fall victim to that. If you leave that thought there itself, don't carry it with you, then you will be saved. That's why first thing is you should not see all those bad things. That's what Krishna says, that out of sight, out of mind. If you don't see such bad things, then there is no question of having bad thoughts. That's why when who is the this person, when Lord Ram, he did yajna for Dasarath Maharaj to get children, Lord Ram Bharat Maharaj. Stringy, or what is his name? Rishi Stringy. He was in the forest, he never seen any woman, but he was happily living. But when the object came, then he was attracted. But the same thing, we should also not only restraining from sense object, at the same time we have to practice devotional service. Simply restraining is not sufficient. Simply restraining from sense object is not sufficient. We have to practice our devotional service sincerely. When we get a taste in Krishna consciousness, then that easily, the other things can easily given up. That's why we have to develop a taste in that. And I was given, like we were giving that, there is a good dog and bad dog. What we have to do? What is the food for intelligence? We have to read scriptures like Bhagavad Gita and chanting. These are the food. And if you don't nourish the intelligence with spirituality, then what happens? Intelligence becomes weak. When intelligence becomes weak, who empowers? Mind empowers. Then mind comes in the control of, intelligence comes in the control of mind. Mind takes the intelligence anywhere. And finally, it falls victim to sense objects. What we have to do, instead of making mind, instead of feeding mind, we should feed intelligence. When you feed intelligence with spiritual scriptures like Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam and holy name, mind can be controlled by chanting the holy name. Intelligence can be strengthened by reading scriptures. Intelligence, what is the activity of intelligence? It's discriminate what is good and right, decision maker. We have to read scriptures. Then our intelligence becomes strong. Then we won't fall victim to sense objects. We have to, then that's what, when you feed a bad dog, what happens? Bad dog starts barking on good dog. And when you make good dog, when you feed good dog, then automatically the bad dog can be good dog can subjugate bad dog. Similarly, when you make our intelligence strong, then you can easily make in mind under the control of, it comes under the control of intelligence, then automatically senses come under control, because senses are under mind. Okay. And okay. There is one story in this regard, how the senses are like poisonous. There's greed, lust, greed, envy, these are compared to a poisonous. Like in Ananta Alvar, he was in Tirupati, and he was he was serving Lord Balaji in making garland for Lord Balaji every day. And while in the garden he was working, a snake has bitten. And the information went to all surrounding places. And then even pujaris who were serving Balaji also, they came to know. And Balaji heard that Anantacharya had been bitten by snake. And Lord Balaji he was concerned for Anantacharya. And even Balaji suggested through his servants that let Anantacharya can take some medicine so that he can recover from snake bite. He was telling, if he was not ready to take. When finally Balaji came and asked, why you didn't take any medicine? Then he said that the poison within my body is there is so much poison within my body. And the snake bite poison it is very negligent. It cannot do anything. And the poison within body is so powerful that the poisonous effect of this snake can be nullified. What is that poison within our body? This lust, greed, and envy, anger. These are the poisonous effect. Even in Mukundamala Stotra, King Kulashekar says, Vesena Bhujaga Sandasta Santrana Mantra. This just like when a snake bites a person, how he will be cured? By mantra or by herbs. The person will be taken to a person who cures, that doctor, Ayurvedic doctor. He recites some mantra and he will be cured from that poisonous effect. Similarly, when you chant the holy names of the Lord, the poisonous effect that is there within our heart, it can be nullified. It can be nullified by chanting the holy names of the Lord. That is the effect of chanting the holy name. Okay. In Srimad Bhagavatam also, there are many, even Karavalamba Stotra, Shankaracharya has written a stotra on praising Lord Nrsimhadev. He says, Andasya me hruta viveka mahadhanasya chorair mahabalibir indriya nama dehai mohandakara kuhare vinipatitasya lakshmi nirsimha mamadehi karavalambam. He compares senses to chorai. Chora means thieves. What is taking away? What is he is telling? Andasya me hruta viveka mahadhanasya. What is that wealth? Viveka, intelligence. Who is taking away? Chorai. The senses are taking away the wealth. What is that wealth? Intelligence. If you leave the senses freely, then your intelligence is taken away. Leaving senses away means what? Mind will not have any control on the senses, and ultimately intelligence cannot have any control on the mind. Then senses can, whatever the senses dictates, mind and intelligence has to carry on the desires of the senses. That's why the wealth is compared to intelligence. That intelligence has been taken away by thieves, which are compared to senses. That's why we should. He is praying, "Oh Nrsimhadev, please, protect me from this thieves." Okay. Because of that, when intelligence are taken away, what happens? We fall into the andhakar. Mohandakara kuhare, in the well of dark well will fall, and then our life will be destroyed, ruined. And even in 8th or 10th chapter Bhagavad Gita, that this material world is compared to reflection of a Ashwadhama tree. The spiritual world is the reflection of this material world. Like when you see a tree on the bank of a river, the reflection you can see on the water. How the reflection of the tree? Upside down. Like if there is a mango tree, and there are many mangoes on the tree, and reflection will be on water. If any person tries to enjoy the fruits in the water, he will not be happy. Similarly, this material world is compared to the reflection of spiritual world, where everyone wants to enjoy in this material world, because they will not get satisfaction in this material, because this is not the place where you get satisfaction. When we go to there in that water, what is the media on which the tree is reflected? Water. But whereas the spiritual world is reflected, the reflection of the material world is on what? Desire. The desire to enjoy. The reflection of spiritual world is on the desires. Why we came here? To enjoy independent. We came to this material world to enjoy independent of the Lord. We have certain desire, we have certain agenda. That is the reason we came to this material world. The desires are like compared to the water, when you compare tree and reflection. And when no matter how much you try to search for fruit, for enjoyment in the water, you will not be happy. Similarly, in the material world, no matter how much you want to be happy, you never be happy. What we have to do, we have to perform our devotional service, and then we have to go search the real source, that is spiritual world. When we go to there, then we will be happy. Okay. In Srimad Bhagavatam, there are some slokas we will recite. How senses. The main cause of our problems is the only mind. We know this Avanti Brahmana, he was very rich person. He has so much wealth. But he is so miser, he will not give even a penny to his family members or relatives. And finally, his wealth was taken away by robs, relatives, and he was on the road. He doesn't have any help. Even his relatives were they were not taking care of him. Here, in that sense, when wealth was completely stolen away and he became pauper, he is now on the road. And then he got realization. What he was telling? He is telling, Naham jano me sukha dukkha hetur. Naham jano, not by these people, not sukha dukkha hetur, now devatatma graha karma kalaha. The misery is, the source of misery is not because of distress is neither demigods, nor my body, nor these planets, nor my past karma. It's not by time. It is because of my mind. He says, Manah param karanam ananti samsara chakram parivartayedat. He is telling this. I'll read the translation as it is. These people are not the cause of my happiness, distress, neither are the demigods, my own body, the planets, my past work or time. Rather, it is the mind alone that causes happiness and distress and perpetuate the rotation of material life. Whenever we face problem, the problem is because of our mind. It's not, other than that, nothing. Finally, he came to a realization that mind is the source of my trouble in this material world. Okay, here one more sloka there in comes. Because of our mind, if mind is not controlled and if you don't engage in the service of the Lord, we have to get future bodies. It comes in 4th canto, 29th chapter, 66. Manayeva manushasya pura rupani samshati bhavishatyasya badramte tatheva na bhavishyataha. Manayeva manushasya pura rupani. Previous bodies and whatever in future bodies, we get because of mind. Because even Krishna says, Yam yam vapiswaran bhavam, whatever thought, with whatever consciousness you will use the body, you will get that particular body. He says that, O king, all good fortune unto you. The mind is the cause of the living entities attaining a certain type of body in accordance with its association with material nature. According to one's mental composition, one can understand what the living entity was in the past life as well as what kind of body he will have in the future. Thus, the mind indicates the past and future bodies. Who is giving new bodies? Our mind. And even at every moment, we are creating our mind. Suppose your inclination is towards devotional service and you are chanting, then you are progressing towards, you are elevating. But if your thought is towards sense gratification, then you are degrading. then that thought also creates one more body. Like if you follow devotional service, then you proceed towards, like you will get a higher destination. But when a person is after sense gratification, then accordingly you will get a body. He's telling we should not make, even in Bhagavad Gita, he says that if your mind is under your control, mind is your friend, best friend. If mind is not under your control, it is your worst enemy. Same, don't make friendship with unchaste mind. Of course, compares to a prostitute. Mind is compared to a prostitute. नित्यं ददासि कामश्च नित्यं ददासि कामश्च छिद्रं तमनुये तयः योगिनः कृतमैत्रस्य प्रत्युर्जायेव पुंशली. Any chaste woman is very easily carried away by paramours, and it sometimes happens that her husband is violently killed by her paramours. If the yogi gives his mind a chance and does not restrain it, his mind will give facility to enemies like lust, anger, and greed. They will doubtlessly kill the yogi. In the same way, what we have to do, we should not allow our lust, anger, greed take place. We should not come under the influence of these things, lust, anger, and greed. And we should not trust the mind. Yeah, that also says. कामो मन्युर्मदो लोभः शोकमोहा भयादयः कर्मबन्धस्य यन्मूलः श्रियकृत्यात्को न तद्बुधः. The mind is the root cause of lust, anger, pride, greed, lamentation, illusion, and fear. Combined, these constitute bondage to fruitive activity. What learned man would put faith in the mind? That's why we should not trust the mind. We should always cautious that mind, it takes us here and there, and then whom do we want to trust? If you don't trust mind, whom should we trust? How we get? That's why by reading scriptures, by Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra, by following that, we can be rightly situated. Okay, if you have any questions, you can ask. Okay, yes. Yeah. Okay, in the chariot example, mind is compared to? What if ropes are not strong? Can you control the horses? Then who is controlling the mind? Who is manipulating the mind? The driver. Driver is, the ropes are under the hands of driver. If driver may be powerful, but if rope is not, of course, definitely, if intelligence itself, he himself is not strong enough to try to drag, control the horses, what happens? Horses go in their own direction. What we have to do, we have to make our intelligence powerful. What solution I gave? It means that we are carried away by senses means what? Mind is not strong enough. It can be made by chanting japa, we can make our mind under control. And by reading scriptures, we can make mind intelligence strong. Like there is an example in Janakamara's kingdom that one person asked Ashtavakra Muni, um, see, I want to give up all this sense enjoyment, but helplessly I am carried away by these things. Just like similar question you are asking. Just like you don't want to eat, but still, like even in third chapter, following chapter, in the same second chapter, Krishna says also, I don't want to engage in all these sinful activities, sense gratification, but I'm forced to do. I come under the control of their senses. What is that? He says kama, lust. Similarly, in the Ashtavakar Muni, one person comes and asks that I don't want, don't want to attach to all these things, but still I am attached. What is the reason? Then Ashtavakar Muni, he saw the one tree, and he embraced the tree, and he asking the tree, please please relieve me. Who has embraced the tree? You have embraced. Tree will not leave. What do we have to do? We ourselves has to relieve from the tree. That's what. We are attached to the sense objects. We are strongly attached to sense objects, and then we lose the control. Then we think that mind has come under the control. Means that mind is not strong enough to control the senses. Yes. Yes. Usually, mind should be stronger, but what happens? You have not given sufficient. When it is strong, when you give spiritual energy to mind and intelligence, then it will be strong. Then, if you don't give that, then automatically what happens? Though tiger is very powerful. Who is powerful? Man is powerful or elephant is powerful? Then how the circus man manipulate the elephant? He tames elephant, even lion. You don't give food for more than 20 or 30 days, then it become weak. And that circus person, what he does? He starts giving some meat. Then automatically it comes under the control of the circus person. Then who is controller? Who? Because it came under the control of the circus person. Though it's very powerful, but it came under the control. It depends to whom we are feeding. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. Yes. Mm. No, senses, when you want to tasty, like when you are accustomed to eating tasty food, then you come under the control of the tongue. You eat, see, once if tongue crosses whatever 2 of this meters of this tongue, there is no, you don't feel any taste. Because when you start eating eatables very tasty, then you develop the habit of eating. You want to taste it again and again. That sense is he wanted to enjoy the particular sense object. Where is the question of mind here? Sense is itself is going for sense objects. And when you get it gives an input to the mind. Of course, these are the input. When you this is compared to a motor, these are inputs. And the processor is mind, it processes. And then it functions. The mind, the senses are the inputs to the mind. If you don't give input to the mind, just like I showed, out of the sight, out of mind. If you don't see, the mind will not get agitate. You understood? If you don't give input to the mind, like in terms of like eyes, very nice things we want to do, tongue we want to taste food. These are the inputs you are giving to the mind. I gave an example of a person, foreigner, he doesn't know how that gulab jamun is, how it tastes. But if he starts eating, he himself, like, of course, gulab jamun is good thing, but he is coming under the control of, the sense is coming under the control of sense object. These are giving inputs. Tongue is giving input to the mind, and then nose want to smell very fragrant smell. Ears want to hear very melodious music. Just like a fish, there is so much food in the lake. Then why fish has to go for that bait? The fish is not starving for food. Fish is not starving for food. There so much food is there, but still it want to taste, attracted. That's how input. The senses give input to the mind, and finally, it goes. Okay, we'll end. श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की, श्रील प्रभुपाद की।